Hello, welcome everyone to the spotlight here on Fightful.com. I'm Jeremy Lambert, joined as always by Stephen Jensen. Jensen, how you doing, buddy? You're cooler now. I should have started the show when you were changing into shorts. Give people a view.
Yeah, maybe that'll pop the rating a little bit, or lost our entire viewership. I'm not sure. Yeah, when I sleep, I like it to be really cold. So like I get and it's like really hot outside, right now. So it's one of those things where like I've been like changing throughout the day and stuff a lot because like I'll wake up, be like really cold because of my AC. We're like put on like a hoodie and like sweatpants, and then within like minutes I'm like in like a tank top and shorts. I'm like, oh man, it's too hot now. Now that it's warming up. But yeah, I'm happy to be here. I know you said you had some surprises and stuff today too, which I legitimately have no idea what that is. So
I'll get to those. Get to those shortly. It's throughout the show. Once the first one happens, you'll kind of see where everything's going. But yeah, I increased the production values a little bit on this show. Is basically what has happened. So I just sleep in gym pants or pajama pants, or if the kids aren't around, I sleep in nothing. That's what I do, Stephen Jensen.
Well,
free
that's
baller while sleeping.
Well, I mean, if we want to go there, that's pretty much the only way I can sleep. Like if I'm wearing clothes at this point and I try to fall asleep, I get uncomfortable. So yeah, I sleep in nothing. So anyways, let's talk about other stuff, I guess.
That's the important stuff on this show. That's the important stuff. Let us know what you sleep in, everybody.
As people trickle in for the show. Yeah, what do you sleep in? You sleep in pajamas? You sleep in just like regular clothes, or you sleep in nothing? Let's get that in the chat. Do you want to send super chats and let us know, and make sure to put up on the screen and let everybody know what you sleep in.
If you're not sleeping in nothing, you can't sleep with
me. Well, see, yeah, Kai. Yep, Kai's with us.
See, that's how you got to do it. Kai, you could sleep with me, buddy. Let's just sleep naked together.
That's a good way to open the
show. yeah. We'll talk about just sleeping naked. There we go. As we appreciate you joining us. It's been a week in the world of wrestling. I think it's been a week. It hasn't been like the most absurd week ever, like it was a few weeks ago, but there's stuff to talk about. Where do you want to start, Jensen? You want to start AEW or WWE? I'll leave it up to you.
Well, I mean, I'm most excited to talk about the 4th of July, but we'll get to that. We can start with wrestling talk, although I would make the argument that our 4th of July conversation is basically about a professional wrestler and actually included some professional wrestlers. But no, let's start on AEW, man. Let's start on Wardlow winning the TNT title.
All right, we're going to start with our AEW spotlight.
Over 1 million fans and a great number in the demo tuned in. It was a great show, and I think it's been a run of great shows.
Production, Stephen Jensen.
That's great.
So is production.
Is TK cool with this, or are you about to get kicked off the air?
We'll probably get banned from the air for using a Tony Khan clip.
We love you, Tony. I'm not even being ironic. Like, I love Tony Khan. Like, he is my favorite pro wrestling promoter that I've ever seen. So if you see this, Tony, then we appreciate being able to use a couple clips here and there. So
it was a great show. It's just audio. I think we'll be fine with audio. We're not showing any video or anything. People have played clips from interviews before.
Yeah. No, I think we'll be all right. Yeah. But yeah, Wardlow. Dude, how over is he, man? I mean, we already knew, but last night that was impressive. Like, even knowing how over he was, and even knowing that, I figured it was very likely that he was going to beat Scorpio Sky for the TNT title.
Yeah, I spoiled it for you. Sorry about that.
Well, no, I mean, even going into the show, I was like, Wardlow's going to win the title. Like, I just didn't know they were opening the show with it. So I wasn't able to start watching until probably right after it happened. And I went back and checked it out. But they made Scorpio Sky look pretty good as far as like not getting completely squashed. There was a couple spots where it looked like he might get it, especially when he hit him with the title and stuff. And, but the crowd was so into it, like, especially from the time that Wardlow hit that swanton and everyone was just going nuts. Like, the crowd pops and everyone's standing up and everyone's pretty much ready for the finish at that point. And then he takes out all the ATT guys and starts hitting the Powerbomb Symphony, and good for Wardlow. I mean, and I think this is also a big reason why they've created the All Atlantic Championship, because Wardlow as TNT champion will probably squash a lot of people. He'll probably have some back and forth matches too, and he'll continue to progress. But then you have Pac with that other title that can be kind of like the workhorse, like 5-star match type title, whereas Wardlow maybe, might just powerbomb a whole bunch of people and then occasionally have like a back and forth match or something for the TNT title. It looks like it's all leading to Wardlow versus CM Punk. I mean, that's kind of what Wardlow's been saying. So I thought it was really well done last night. What do you think?
I think Wardlow's going to get a lengthy title run with this thing, and they need to like reestablish this title. I know Miro does some character stuff when he does these interviews, but he's like, yeah, the TNT title's gone to shit ever since I lost it. I'm like, he ain't totally wrong, because the switching between Sammy and then, Cody was in there for a little bit, and then Scorpio, and then Sammy, and then Scorpio, like all of that switching, I don't think any of those runs did anything for the title. I do feel bad for Scorpio. I do think he's injured. I think he'll be away for a little bit, unfortunately. I could be wrong, but based on his tweet last night where he's like, oh, I'll see y'all later and stuff, it seems like he's injured and might be on the shelf for a little bit. But he had 2 runs that just the most unmemorable runs in the world, unfortunately. Like just 2 short reigns, and now it's on Wardlow, a guy they clearly have a lot of faith in, a guy they clearly have a lot of belief in, a guy they're clearly going to strap the rocket to, and they need to reestablish this title with this Wardlow run, because it has gone to shit ever since Miro lost it. And I think Wardlow's going to get a great run out of it. I think he's going to have some really good matches. But yeah, he's probably also just going to like kind of decimate a few people. I don't know where the story is going to go. Maybe it does circle back to CM Punk. CM Punk obviously has unfinished business with John Moxley. Once he returns, they got to unify the titles and everything. I've said it a million times, though. Just give me stories when it comes to this stuff. I don't just want, okay, Wardlow, and maybe the story is just like Wardlow decimates people and like who can stop this man. Maybe that's the story, and if that's what it is, that's cool. That's cool by me. I'm fine with that. But just give me something I can sink my teeth into, not just a bunch of random matches against random opponents, because I don't like any of that stuff. Like Cody, his story was he beat a lot of people, but it was through an open challenge, and you made new people, you signed new people out of that. Miro was kind of like, hey, I'm just going to destroy these people. And then, of course, this whole thing with God. And I hope that Wardlow gets something similar to that, of like, who can just like stop this man now that he's free from MJF, and like there's nothing holding him back. I assume that'll sort of be the story when it comes to Wardlow, and I'm cool with that. Just give me something to actually sink my teeth into that's not just, hey, Wardlow won again. Like put some thought behind it. That's my only ask. As far as like the moment, I was a little unsure that he was gonna win, even though it seemed like set up for him to win, but I just didn't think they would do Scorpio like that, like 2 times of, hey, let me give you 2 title reigns, and they're both just going to have nothing to them, and you lose them both, and then that's like it. I didn't think they would do that to him. But if he's injured, what can you do off of that? If he's injured and has to go away, this was the right call. That was the only reason I was a little bit hesitant of, I don't know if Wardlow's actually going to win this thing, but at the same time, I don't think you can like beat Wardlow in this type of match unless it's it was a street fight. It was a street fight, so you could have a bunch of interference and Wardlow still look strong, getting beat by like 20 people, 20 like actual wrestlers and not 20 job men like it was a few weeks ago. So you could still keep him strong in that respect. That was my only hesitation on it. But this was certainly the time to go ahead and go full bore with Wardlow.
Yeah, I totally agree. And I also agree with what JJ said in the chat about, he said I've not logged in right now, so I can't pull it up, but it says they had the TNT all right when Sky won it in the ladder match. Thank you, Jeremy. And they screwed it up by having him turn on Cash, which I agree with as well. Like it was like he was getting more and more over as a babyface. People wanted him to turn. It seemed like the right move for him to turn. He's really not the best fit for being in the American Top Team group to begin with. He doesn't really need Lambert, and I think it really hurts Ethan Page to be a part of all of it. So like, it's one of those things where it's like, that was the time to just turn him babyface and just have him go on a babyface run with the title. Even if it was short, like I think it would have turned out better than what it was. And, Wardlow winning the title, yeah, we'll see what happens going forward. But I think at the end of the day, like he's not losing that belt before he fights CM Punk for the world title. I think like he'll, and I don't know how long it'll be before he gets that title shot. I don't necessarily want to see it right away. It's been alluded to already. But Tony Khan and AEW and the way they book their stuff, like just because Wardlow mentioned wanting a shot at CM Punk, a few weeks ago, he still might not get that shot for another, 6 months, another year. I mean, they're good about like long-term storytelling and like letting things play out over time and stuff. So I'm interested. And also with the Miro stuff, I want to throw out there, like they do need to figure out really what to do with him, because I was never the biggest Rusev fan. Like I always saw like potential in him, but I was never like on the hype train like other people were. He felt kind of a bit generic to me because I've seen so many of those same types of wrestlers. Right. Well, but me and you, we've seen so many wrestlers come and go from the WWE that are just like that, like the same exact type of push, eventually losing to someone like John Cena. And then like just kind of like lingering, and the whole Rusev Day thing was over. But I also think that was a lot of Aiden English. Like he did a really good job of like helping get that over, and people forget that. And Miro in AEW was like a breath of fresh air. Like at first I didn't like the whole best man thing and him and Sabin and Penelope. I thought that was really, really weak. I thought that was a bad way of introducing him to AEW. But once he turned the corner and he started talking about God and being a champion and his wife and all this stuff, it was like the Redeemer, and it was like, dude, this is actually really good. And like his in-ring work matched it too, because like the way he was wrestling people, it really worked and it really made sense and it was really believable. And I turned the corner on him as a fan. I say that all the time too. Like you can win me over as a wrestling fan. I'm not one of these people that like, just because I didn't like the first time I saw you, or I didn't like this match or that match, I don't just like turn on you forever. Like if you give me a reason to change my mind, like I'm all about, like, I want to like every wrestler that I watch. Like, so I think Miro did an awesome job as TNT champion. And I know he was out for a while and stuff, but I know he's back now, and he was a part of that All Atlantic kind of tournament and 4-way and stuff. And yeah, so just because you brought him up, I wanted to say that too. Like Miro has been really impressive to me in AEW, and they do need to figure out what to do with him as well.
Miro rules. It looks like he's going to feud with Malachi now. He had the promo last night where he's going after Malachi and the, not the All Atlantic title, because Pac has the All Atlantic Championship, but it looks like he's going after Malachi. I think that's fine. I'm not into the Malachi stuff. It's not for me. I think the Miro promos will be great. They'll continue to be great. I'm sure the match will be very good. I would like to see Miro do a little bit more than just face Malachi Black. But as far as Wardlow goes, I mean, the Goldberg comparisons are there. The Punk feud has been alluded to. I just don't know if that's going to be like Wardlow's big world title win is beating Punk, because I'm thinking of the Goldberg title win, and like he beat Hogan to pop the rating on Nitro, and that was obviously defeating the top heel. And then going on to have both titles and everything. So if you're going to make that comparison, it's not really an apples to apples thing, because Punk is, unless Punk turns, which is very possible, and Punk would be like one of the biggest heels in AEW, probably the biggest heel in AEW, especially with MJF gone. Like if he turns his back on the crowd and everything, and then like if Wardlow is like the conqueror saving AEW from CM Punk, I could see that story. Like I'm not mad at that. That seems like a very long-term thing though, like that goes into next year more than something that might play out this year. They got options, whether it be Wardlow just running with the TNT title, or whether it be using the TNT title to elevate him to the world title. A lot is going to depend on when Punk returns, what happens with Punk and Moxley. My assumption is Punk wins that match to keep his reign going. But what happens there, and then where they decide to go for there. But good for Wardlow. He's clearly the guy. He's been one of their guys from the very start. And now that he's free, they finished up the MJF program, they can really go all in on him. He wants to boost that female demographic. He wants to be the panty dropper. Wardlow, he's gonna get all the females watching AEW.
Yeah. And JJ, he also says in the chat, can you have Wardlow hold on to the TNT title for like 2 years before his world title match? Honestly, you could. Like if the run is going well, I'm not against something like that. Especially when you have something like the All Atlantic title and the world title, and the tag titles and soon to be trios titles and the women's TBS and the world title. And, you know what I mean? Like, they have enough champions and enough
and the ROH titles and the AAA titles and
true.
all the damn. Yep. And I'm sure Tony said he's got a million other titles that he's designed, ready to introduce. Yeah, just have him hold the belt for as long as you want to.
Exactly. And I mean, they're overflowing with talent on that roster, even when guys like Kenny aren't there and Danielson's hurt and, you know, Cody leaves and all this stuff, like Adam Cole. There, you barely, I don't want to say barely notice, because like those are massive stars. CM Punk, the world champion, of course, but like it doesn't really affect the show too much, which is wild. Like,
I thought it so much the show last night.
You think so? I enjoyed it. Yeah, like, I mean, but it's one of those. Okay, well, it's one of those things.
Not a fan of last night's show.
Okay, interesting. I thought it was a pretty good show. But yeah, just one of those things where I mean, in comparison, WWE loses one person, loses a Roman Reigns or something, and it's like panic mode because like there's just no one else. Cody goes out, and it's like we got to rewrite everything. AEW, they lose like their top 4 or 5 people, and it's still like, once again, I know you said you didn't really like the show last night, but even not just last night, but like Forbidden Door, granted that had New Japan involvement and stuff, and the pay-per-view before that, they've had a lot of injuries and a lot of big people are out. I think they're still putting on good product. But to answer your question, JJ, yeah, like I would be fine with a 2-year Wardlow TNT title reign if it was good. You know, if he's killing it and he's over and they're building towards something big for him, like I'm fine with something like that.
At some point, we all assume MJF comes back,
right?
And because it seems like this whole thing is gone to the point where it's a work. It might have started off as a shoot, but based on his promo, it seems like it turned into a work. He comes back. And the obvious thing to do would be to jump into a thing with Wardlow of how he made Wardlow. And because I don't know if MJF comes back as a babyface after all this. Like, that was kind of a babyface promo. He got cheered and everything. But I just don't know if he's going to come back as like this conquering babyface out of all of this. And so MJF and Wardlow would be sort of an obvious feud to go immediately into whenever he comes back. And Wardlow, wherever he's at on the card, is still going to be one of the top guys. And maybe, I don't know when MJF comes back, but if Wardlow's the TNT champion, that's an easy thing for MJF to do. Like, get gold, hold the company hostage by having some type of gold, use that as some type of leverage. I could see something like that. And they got options, whether it becomes with Wardlow or the championship itself, but certainly with Wardlow, you can do a lot of things with this guy because he's one of the most over guys on the roster right now. He's got the TNT title. You can use it to elevate him to a new program, which is probably the world title. You can use it to elevate another guy. There's stories to be told with Wardlow as the champion, and I hope they do that justice.
Yeah. I mean, as far as like CM Punk goes, as far as MJF goes, well, and CM Punk, this goes hand in hand. Back in, was it 2011 when CM Punk beat John Cena for the world title, and then he left, and it was like the biggest complaint out of all of that was that he came back too soon. He came back like, you know, the next week or whatever, and they did the whole thing where like Rey Mysterio won the world title, and then like Cena won the world title from Mysterio on like one episode of Raw or something, and then CM Punk came out and everyone was like, oh, it's cool to see CM Punk and he's got new music again and all this stuff, but like, damn, they could have dragged that whole thing out for much longer. Like, he was taking photos of the title belt in a refrigerator. He was going to like indie shows with the world title and stuff, and it was like they could have done something really cool with that. And that's where I'm at with kind of the MJF thing right now. Is I'm assuming at this point it is a work. I think it's a shoot that turned into a work, like you just said. But I think there's a big part of the fan base. It's like, you should put him back on TV. You need to keep the momentum going and all this stuff. And I understand that line of thinking. But at the same time, I'm like, I kind of like the idea of him just disappearing for a minute and like let us have that type of story that we didn't get with CM Punk all those years ago. Like, let us really kind of have MJF out of sight, out of mind. And when he returns, it's going to be massive, I feel like. And the best thing he could possibly do, because I still think he should be the one to beat CM Punk for the world title, but it makes the most sense if, and once again, this is a long-term story, so like they have to let it play out for a bit longer, but if CM Punk turns heel, and we all know how good he can be as a heel, he can really, really get people to hate him. And if MJF can be the one to take down CM Punk without really having to be a babyface, but people are cheering him, it's like I'm really interested in something like that. And I feel like the MJF and CM Punk stuff still isn't really over yet. Like they had the dog collar match, which was probably if not my favorite match of the year, it's right there with Cody and Seth. But it's one of those things that's like, I like that they're long playing the MJF stuff and that he isn't like right back on TV and they're not really talking about him and Tony Khan won't answer questions about him. It makes it different. It makes it interesting. Comment. Exactly. And then, yeah, the Wardlow MJF stuff's interesting too, because like the last time we saw MJF and Wardlow wrestle each other, Wardlow destroyed him, completely uncompetitive, just owned him. So like you had to figure out a way to get MJF into a title shot while also kind of ignoring the Wardlow loss. Here's
my fantasy booking. CM Punk, John Moxley, they close All Out. It's in Chicago. At least that's what we think. They haven't actually like officially announced that, but we all think it's in Chicago. Punk wins, stands tall, MJF music hit. MJF's still the heel after all this. I still think he's got to be a heel. That gives you your MJF CM Punk feud. MJF wins the title, and Wardlow maybe still the TNT champion. If not, that moves Wardlow up to the MJF feud and the world title. I don't think MJF needs a long reign with the title or anything like that. I think you could probably do the story that they love with MJF of throw a million obstacles in the way of Wardlow before he finally gets to MJF, even though we've seen it. There's a new twist on it now. But then Wardlow beats MJF to win the title. Yeah, they did ignore Wardlow with the stretcher job. MJF just came out on the next show and just cut his promo and was like, oh yeah, remember this guy just got stretchered out? Like, I don't think you can ignore that. And that's why I think you go back to it after MJF wins the title. All I'm saying is if they want to just immediately go back to it, MJF coming back while Wardlow is the TNT champion is one way to get there. I am kind of in agreement with you and JJ of like MJF should probably come back and focus on the world title, which I assume will be held by CM Punk whenever they decide to bring MJF back.
Yeah. I'm interested too, for what it's worth, when Punk and Moxley go one-on-one to unify the titles, how the crowd leans. Like I think AEW, they were great about, they'll do heel versus heel and babyface versus babyface stuff and just let the crowd choose, kind of who they want to go with, or the crowd might be split. I'm assuming it'll be kind of not even necessarily split. I think both guys are just going to get cheered. Like it's just going to be everyone's just going to be really into it. But I am interested to see if like Punk shows any kind of like heel mannerisms, or like Moxley is like, I think he's technically a heel. Like, but it doesn't really matter. Like he
doesn't come out of a tunnel, so I don't know which side.
Right. We aren't being told. We aren't being spoon-fed what exactly to feel and believe, like, and how to cheer. But like the Blackpool Combat Club to me is baby faces, but like they never really turned. Like it's interesting. They're kind of playing the gray area in between, like the tweener.
But Danielson's a heel. Like he even said that when he wouldn't reveal that Claudio was the mystery guy. He's like, I'm not telling y'all shit. I'm a bad guy.
Right. But it's like, but when they fight, the Jericho Appreciation Society, I know Danielson wasn't a part of that, but like clearly the Blackpool Combat Club is the babyface in that scenario. So it's like, but it's a bunch of badasses just beating the hell out of each other also at the end of the day. So it's like and Yuta's definitely a babyface. So it's like it's interesting, but it works. It works really well. And that's why I like how Moxley's kind of explained the Combat Club is like, he's like, it's more of kind of like a fight team. Like they aren't really like a team per se. Like they might team up together kind of for like a unified kind of mission, but like it's really just guys that kind of train together and want to help each other get better. And it's like a fight team. More than like a friendship. Like it's more of like an athletic approach to it, and like getting better and mentored by Regal and stuff.
I mean, we watch UFC and MMA, Jensen. Like we know about the various fight teams and stuff. Like take American Top Team. There's some fighters from American Top Team that I like. There's some fighters that I don't like, and that's sort of what it is. Is they are a fight team, and there's guys that you're gonna like from that team, and there's guys that you're not gonna like from that team. And I do think that is their approach, and I'm fine with that approach because it's been explained and they all get along. But yeah, there's just some guys on the team. Like I'm not the biggest Colby Covington fan who is at American Top Team. Always loved Andre Arlovsky. He's great. Got no problem with him. Though yeah, there's just guys you like and some guys you don't like on these teams.
Very true. Very true. I think Colby's entertaining, but I also understand. I mean, he has go away heat with a lot of people too. So it's like I get he's a gimmick, but he's a fantastic fighter. If Kamaru Usman didn't exist, he'd be the world champion. Like he's right there. But yeah, no, I know what you mean. Like there's a wide variety of personalities and stuff that you're going to get in a fight team, and yeah, so yeah, I guess to wrap this topic up, congratulations to Wardlow. He's shown a lot of progress. I saw his first match in AEW against Cody live in Atlanta, that cage match, and he was impressive then even, but it was like really just kind of on potential. Now he's like really realizing his potential and he's really hitting his stride and he looks like $1 million. He's over big time with the crowd. He's got a good thing going for him that's working. So I think they need to just keep doing what they're doing with him and just kind of, once again, I hate saying like let it play out because it almost sounds condescending because it's like, when you say it about certain companies, you really don't mean it. But with AEW, I really do mean it. I think it's one of those things where it's like, if it's not broke, don't fix it. Like just keep going with what they've got with him right now. And if it starts going south or, people aren't as into it, then you modify it, tweak it, change it, make it better. But this is working. So just keep doing it. And I think Wardlow, it makes sense for him to win the TNT title right now.
Your AEW spotlight, Stephen Jensen, is Dark Order, who came out last night, and they said Dark Order is fine. The 6 of them are not going anywhere. And yeah, it was Uno. Obviously, they've lost Stu Grayson, future WrestleMania main eventer, Stu Grayson, and Alan Angels, who future Impact main eventer, Alan Angels, actually on Impact tonight. They've lost those 2, but they still have Preston Vance, Evil Uno, John Silver, -1, Anna Jay, and Alex Reynolds. And then QT Marshall came out. They remembered Hangman Page has ties with the group, so that was something. This segment did nothing for me. I don't know what's going to happen with Dark Order. It's not like they were being treated the best beforehand. Like basically ever since Hangman won the title, and even before that, it's like, well, here's Dark Order to get the shit kicked out of them by Danielson and CM Punk. Like they weren't really doing anything. And then the Hangman Association became less after he won the title. And now it just felt like, we're in Rochester, home of Brody Lee. Like we just got to bring them out to make them make some type of statement. And that's about it. The Hangman stuff feels like below Hangman at this point, like him coming out last night. Maybe he can resurrect the group a little bit. But I don't really want Hangman associated with these guys anymore. And I like Dark Order. I like them, when they were associated with Hangman previously, but they've lost some really talented people. People have theorized and conspiracy theorized that they have 6 members, Wyndham 6. Here comes the Fiend Bray Wyatt. And like, if that's the shot in the arm they're going to take, that's fine. It's something. Otherwise, I don't have much use for Dark Order right now. How about you?
That's fair. Give me 1 second off camera. Just 1 second. I'm not going anywhere. I'm just right here. Got to roll off screen for just half a second here.
Oh my gosh, Jensen's gonna bring out his full Dark Order regalia. He's gonna put the mask on. He's gonna do that little gimmick right there. Here we go. Dark Order member Stephen Jensen. Everybody, what number would Steve? There it is.
All right, so let's go. I actually completely
what
forgot
number
that I had this.
What number?
69.
Of course you are.
420, 69, 420. So I legitimately forgot that I had this until right when we started talking about the Dark Order. I was like, oh, I have a Dark Order mask from I think this is from Pro Wrestling Tees.
Do the hand thing so I can screenshot this. There we go. All right, thank you.
Am I in enough?
Yeah, I got you.
Okay, cool. Yeah. So yes, no, I'm with you. You know, there is a lot of conspiracy theory about this thing's bothering me. There's like something like up in like the mouth. You see that? Anyways, you can hear me fine.
Horrible to wear for any amount
Dude,
of
time.
This
is tough. I look such a jabroni. I look like a jobber. I can't even get the thing straight.
Oh, you fit right in with the Dark Order, honestly.
All right, so here we go. I hate this, whatever this is. I've never even worn this before. Anyways, yeah, so the Bray Wyatt conspiracy stuff, I kind of buy into it. You know, they were all out in the ring last night and they were like, we are the 6 and we're all staying and all this stuff. But part of me is like, is the loophole that -1 is like his number's -1? So it's like, really, we were seeing the 5 members, -1 kind of like takes the 1 away. So we have 5 and like we're waiting on the 6th. Like they're not going to count -1 in that. And it is Bray Wyatt. You know, the Hangman stuff it's disappointing because one of my favorite moments in the history of AEW was when Hangman and the Dark Order came out to wrestle the Elite Squad when they were all dressed up like Space Jam. And that entrance in the What Makes a Cowboy video and the whole thing where they came out together and Hangman was wearing like the purple roses and stuff on it. I mean, it was like, that was perfect. But unfortunately too, that was like the peak of what the Dark Order probably is going to be. And they've lost Grayson, they've lost Angels, they've lost Cabana.
Oh yeah, I didn't even mention Cabana, where Sean reported that like it didn't look like he was going to be re-signed, but people pushed for it. And then it looks like he's going to be part of ROH now. So, you know, we'll see with Cabana, but yeah, it looks like he's out of the group. I never really thought like he fully fit with the group anyway, but Cabana's a nice solid hand to have. But yeah, he's out of it as well.
Exactly. So they're in this weird spot where like they're losing members. And I wonder if any of them, it has to do with this at all too. Cause like, I know Alan Angels was talking about, and I believe him too, for what it's worth. Like he basically said, like, I'm going to leave AEW because I didn't really have much of an indie run. Like he didn't even have a chance to rise the indie ranks. Like he was so new and he was starting to get booked. And I'd actually seen him a little bit in like either Nashville or Atlanta. Like he was starting to kind of pop up in the Southeast. And before he knew it, and before the fan base even knew it, like he's getting booked on AEW because the pandemic, they needed people local that were available when they were taping all this stuff in Atlanta. And he was there and he wound up getting signed. And he just never really had that indie run. And now he's gotten so much better that he's like, you know, JJ says Alan Angels over Speedball is going to rule. Like, yeah, that kind of stuff is like why Alan Angels has returned to the indies. And I think he's going to really up his value and try to, you know, get a bigger deal to come back to AEW or to eventually go to the WWE or go to Impact or whatever it is. And but the point is like, I have to imagine that they've been kept in the loop as far as like, hey, when you're making this decision, if you're going to stay or going to go, like, these are the plans for the Dark Order. And some of them might have been like, okay, I don't really like where this is heading, so I'm just going to get out now while I have a chance. And I can't imagine if they knew that Bray was coming in that they would want to leave. But I don't know. With Grayson,
I don't think Bray's coming in, by the way. I don't think. I think that's the theory that everybody, you're done with that mask. Jensen's out of Dark Order. He decided not to renew his contract with Dark Order, and he's just had it. He's going on his indie run. I don't think Bray's coming in. I think that's the conspiracy theory that people are throwing out because, oh, Wyndham 6, there's 6 members. Like, we've heard this theory for a very long time now. I mean, Bray was released a year ago. It's been a year since this man got released by WWE, and he's not there yet. I don't think he's going to be there. If he is, fine, great. It'll certainly be something for Dark Order, but I don't think that that's the end game with this. I don't know if there is an end game, and I think that's maybe why Hangman is kind of repartnered with them because they feel like they need to do something with the group, and Hangman obviously has the ties. But I think it's just kind of below where Hangman should be. I will let it play out, but I have no real excitement for Dark Order right now.
Yeah, the only way that it works for Hangman is if somehow, well, I shouldn't even say somehow, because they were getting to this point before Hangman won the world title. They could have capitalized on it with him being the champion, and they didn't. But like, if Hangman being associated with the Dark Order elevates the Dark Order, then I'm good with it. But if it lowers Hangman's status, that's a problem to me, because they've done a lot of great work of establishing him as like, when I think of AEW in that massive, just stacked roster that they have of talent, the top of that for me is Omega, Danielson, Hangman. I mean, that's probably the top three. I mean, I'd have to think about it. Moxley's way up there as well. But like, as far as like, and Punk, you know, it's like, as far as like in-ring storytelling, fame, you know, overness, all this stuff, it's like they have kind of like 4 or 5 guys that are like above everyone. And I have Hangman in that group. But for him to get into that group, it took the long-term story with Kenny winning the world title, his title run where he went on. I mean, there were people that were down on Hangman as champion, and I never understood it. I was like, this guy's just putting on nothing but bangers always. Like, how can anyone be upset with what they're doing with this guy? He's way more credible now than he was 3 years ago when the company started. Like like they stuck to their guns and it worked. And I think Hangman is on that level. But if now going forward, it's like him, and no offense to these other guys and girls, like I think Anna Jay has a ton of potential, but she still has a lot of work to do. Evil Uno is stuck because there's no Stu Grayson anymore. Silver and Reynolds have been relegated to kind of more like comedy guys, but they can really go in the ring. But like, I think they're more kind of seen as comedy guys. -1 still has, 10 plus years before you can wrestle. There's I might be missing somebody too. I think I got everyone.
Everyone likes Preston Vance. I'm sorry. Kind of high on Preston Vance.
Yeah. When he's got a good look, and he's really well liked. I know that he helps a lot of people at the Nightmare Factory, like with training and stuff, especially like newer wrestlers. I've talked to some people there that I know that train there that are like that have gone through like the beginner classes at the Nightmare Factory, and they always tell me that Cody Vance, well, his real name's Cody, Preston Vance, is they always tell me that like he's such a help to them. And so apparently he's a great guy, and I know he's close with a lot of people in AEW, and his time will probably come because he's got a great look and he's athletic, and there will probably be a big future for him as well. And I didn't mean to miss him off that list, but that's pretty much the 6 right there. And so it's like for Hangman to be a part of that, it does seem a little less than, unfortunately. But once again, if Hangman can keep his same status as like one of the top people in AEW, and the Dark Order elevates with him, and we start seeing like Silver and Reynolds as like a threat to the tag titles, and Vance is maybe in the mix for like the All Atlantic Championship or something, and Anna Jay starts getting in the mix for like the TBS and the world title and stuff, and it's like maybe it can be used to elevate. And I like Evil Uno as the mouthpiece of the group, and he's a good wrestler too, but he's just kind of in no man's land right now without Grayson, in my opinion. So like, and that was I still stand strong on Stu Grayson's going to do big things outside of AEW. I think Alan Angel is going to have a great indie run. Cole Cabana is going to do better in Ring of Honor than he was doing in AEW, in my opinion. And so it's just tough because I do like the Dark Order, and I think they did a great job of like the original Dark Order. It didn't work. They put the kibosh on it. They changed it, and it worked. And they were a real big piece in Hangman winning the world title, which was like probably the biggest story AEW's ever done up to this point, with Hangman and Omega, and Dark Order was a big part of that. And now they're just kind of in this weird spot where like they're losing members and they're still trying to hold on to it. And I think the only thing that could happen to really give him a shot in the arm would be Wyatt coming in. But I'm also not like really confident that that's going to happen. I'm just saying, like, if anybody can turn this thing around, it would probably be him as the leader. But they'd also have to change their dynamic too. I think they'd have to go more back into like kind of the cult and like the actual darkness of what the Dark Order was when it started with like the creep. They don't necessarily have to bring the creepers in and all that stuff, but people forget when the
maggots started on the mat.
Right.
Maggots on the mat
don't.
back.
I was at WrestleMania that year too.
Ayo, maggots.
What?
Workaholics reference. Workaholics.
Wait. The burritos.
There was that one, the burritos, but the Ayo maggots was when they were trying to get fake passports so they could go to hedonism.
That's right. I just remember the one.
There were maggots in the burritos too.
In the skunk that they were like chopping up.
Oh, that was disgusting,
dude. I still watch that show pretty often. There's a shout out Pluto TV. I watch Pluto TV all the time because it's free and they just constantly have shows running on there all day, and they have a channel that shows workaholics almost all the time. I love the Stan Halen episode, the dude who like he was kind of like he's in a fraternity. But anyways, yeah. So yeah, I don't know. I mean, people forget with the Dark Order when it started. It was like that like kind of creepy guy was like trying to recruit people with like those weird videos and like the creepers, and it was a completely different thing, and it didn't really work. But maybe with what? Let's also be fair. Brody Lee dying, that changed everything for that group.
Yeah,
I mean, so who knows what was the plans and stuff, but it's cool that they're still honoring him. It's really cool to see -1 still out there, and like I know there's a lot of people out there that are like that don't like seeing -1 or they think it's weird having a kid out there. My thing is like, I'm not going to judge any of this. That kid lost his dad super young and to like some weird circumstances, and like it was like out of nowhere, and anything they can do to help that kid out, I'm fine with. I think it's cool as hell that he got an action figure with his dad and stuff. Like I like seeing -1 out there. It makes me feel good. But anyways, Dark Order's future, it doesn't look good right now, but if someone like Bray Wyatt did come in and take the group over, that definitely gives them a shot in the arm.
I think that's the only thing that can save them, because I'm not sold on Hangman elevating them. And I love Hangman. I'm with you that he's like one of the pillars, the guy that should be pushed. But man, this group is beaten so much like on television. I understand they're picking up wins on Dark and Dark Elevation and stuff like that. But like on TV, these guys are just beaten every single time they are on TV. So if you're going to reestablish them, you got to give them some like actual credible wins, and that will elevate them more than being associated with Hangman. And if Hangman can be part of that, doing trios matches, four-man matches or 8-man matches and things like that, then sure, like Hangman can kind of elevate them. But you got to start giving these guys wins on TV, because the last time they've won on TV together was like last October. I think it was, and they lost that Space Jam match with Hangman, but they won that the match like afterwards to get Hangman back in the title shot and everything. But like that was like their last big win. Otherwise, like I've been saying, like they've just been getting the shit kicked out of them by Punk and Danielson as they've been feuding with Hangman. So you've got to give these guys wins to really reestablish them, because right now they just have very little to no credibility with me. And Hangman, the way he's been treated after his title run, doesn't seem to be in a position, at least at this moment, to elevate them. And I hope that changes for everybody. I hope that changes for everybody.
Yeah, I'm with you. I like the idea, by the way. I like the idea, by the way, that people are throwing out in the chat, which I like. Wyndham being so so closely linked to Brody, like you can call him Brother Brody, and like him. If anyone's going to take the group over, he's really the only one that makes sense. And I think him being with -1 would be interesting.
You can do a story if Wyndham comes in. I don't think he's coming in. That's my position on things. You can do a story of like Wyndham tries to drag them back to the dark, Hangman tries to keep them in the light, and they're just kind of battling over things. Like I think that's a good story to tell. Yeah. And you have Hangman and Wyatt, who are two perceived stars, and like that's a good feud you can do that keeps the group in an actual spotlight of, hey, they're relevant, they're doing stuff. Give them some wins on TV during this. End it with the Hangman Wyatt thing. Like you could possibly tell that story. I don't think Wyatt's coming in. I could be wrong.
No, that's fair. I mean, there's really no reason for us to think like it's going to happen right now, since it hasn't happened up to this point. But yeah, okay, good deal. Dark Order. I hope it works out for them, because I like the people involved. So.
You want to be a professional wrestler? or do you want to be a WWE superstar? WWE superstar sounds a whole lot better to me than being a professional wrestler.
Oh, boo.
WWE Spotlight. Stephen Jensen. WWE Spotlight. Yours this week. Pretty big news coming out of WWE. Logan Paul has signed with the company. Multi-event, multi-year deal. Seems like he's going to wrestle at SummerSlam. Seems like it's going to be him and Miz, whether it's a singles match or a tag team match in some capacity. And he's probably going to be part of a lot of other shows as well moving forward. But Logan Paul signed with the company. He had an impressive showing. I mean, say what you will about the guy. He had an impressive showing at WrestleMania. A great athlete. He obviously has his fans, and he generates some type of buzz. What do you make of Logan Paul signing?
So some people might be surprised by me saying this. Like, I think it's genius that they signed this guy. You know, and I think for the WWE, this is like the biggest kind of win that they can get right now, because they're not really in the business, in my opinion, of like trying to find great pro wrestlers right now. No. They're in the business of like trying to stay relevant in the mainstream. And when they get people like Bad Bunny, who, in my opinion, like exceeds expectations, for, you know, he was good in the ring. Pat McAfee's fantastic. Like, he might be one of the best workers in the whole company. Like, he just doesn't get to do it very often. Like, as far as like in the ring on commentary, I think he does a great job. But, you know, and so it's like, I don't think Logan Paul's gonna be the last one either. I mean, we saw them try to do it with Tyson Fury, with Cain Velasquez.
Well, Valerie Loretta is coming in, the MMA fighter from Bellator.
That's right.
She's signed. Right. She's going to be part of things moving forward.
Yep. And, you know, I could see Jake potentially coming in as well at some point to do something. Like, what I'll say about Logan Paul is this. I fully understand where the hate from him used to come from. I'm actually like way more in tune with like the YouTube and YouTuber drama and Twitch stuff that like I stay very I pay attention to a lot of that stuff and have for a long time. I just get kind of fascinated by it. And Logan Paul, there was a lot of reasons to really dislike this guy back years ago. I mean, the Suicide Force thing was terrible. He's made some big mistakes. That video he did in Japan where he was like throwing Pokeballs at like Japanese citizens and stuff on the streets and stuff. It was embarrassing. Like he was basically a hype beast out there on YouTube and the first time I ever saw him, he was lying about being colorblind and like pretending to put these glasses on, like he was seeing colors for the first time. I mean, the guy was just lying and being a douchebag for views on YouTube. I mean, let's just be honest. His audience was kids, and he was just clickbaiting pretty much to get kids to watch him. He initially got famous off of Vine, which is like, you know, so it's one of those things where it's like, I understand where the hate used to come from this guy. I totally get it. But over time, I have to admit, like, I've become a fan of his, as far as like, I'm not a fan of like his YouTube videos, but like his podcast, I think, has shown that like he's actually a pretty good guy. Like the long form interviews. Yeah, I listen to some of his podcasts because he's interviewed WWE people, and now that he's a WWE superstar, I'm gonna have to listen to it more regularly. I'm not totally against it. I do think he has helped himself in regard compared to what he used to be. Like, people can change. People deserve second chances and whatnot. I'm probably never going to break the stigma that this guy is an absolute douchebag. I see where you're coming from, where he's helped himself through doing more media and showing that he seems remorseful for some of this stuff. It doesn't make any of it right, but he does seem, for the most part, pretty remorseful on everything he used to do, and he's grown, and he knows how to sort of still embrace that role of being a douchebag. And now I do think it's more of a character than it is his actual personality, but obviously his actual personality is still part of it. But he's done well to make millions off of the character personality and now translate that into a wrestling career. Right. And we also have to keep in mind, he's still in like his like mid-20s, I want to say. So it's like it's also one of those. Well, I'm just saying, like, I'm not making excuses for anything, but my point is, like, when you're in front of a camera like 24/7 from the time that you're a teenager every day, you're going to have moments where like you screw up on camera. the stuff that he did was like way past the line, and he got canceled over it. He's had to come back from multiple cancellations where like YouTube didn't want to put his videos up and they would take his stuff down, and he had to weather the storms of cancellation, and he deserved the cancellations he got. Like he did some really, really stupid stuff. But a big thing that turned the corner for me is seeing the hard work he put in boxing. Like Jake has hit a whole other level than Logan with what he's doing, with knocking out guys like Tyron Woodley, Ben Askren. The Nate Robinson just face down knockout was great. But with Logan, I mean, we got to give him credit for even getting in the ring with Floyd Mayweather. Like that's insane that this YouTuber who had only fought other YouTubers boxed arguably the best boxer of the last like two decades. I mean, it's crazy that he did that. And he actually landed a few punches on the guy. He got worked. He definitely didn't win that fight. But my point is, like, he had the balls to go in there and do it. And he's in great shape. The little bit of wrestling I've seen him do, he seems very competent in the ring. He's athletic. He's young. He's super famous. He has a huge following. And I think it just makes perfect sense that the WWE would want to be in business with this guy, especially if he's going to be there even somewhat regular. Like, I don't think he's going to be there every week or anything like that, but I think he might wrestle more often than we think he will, because when he gets into something, I think that he really wants to go all the way with it. Like, I think he wants to be like a legitimate part of the WWE and like have good matches and like, try to actually do something there. And the whole adding celebrities into the WWE stuff, I'm not a huge fan of it, but that's just kind of what the WWE is now. Like, they're not I think in their mind, if they had to make the choice of like, do we want to get like let me put it this way. They have the option right now. This is hypothetical. Kenny Omega's available. Would we rather have Kenny Omega or Logan Paul? They'd probably take Logan Paul.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it's like, because, he's not going to be the last person that does this. I think we're going to get more YouTubers, more influencers, all that kind of stuff. Anybody who's interested in wrestling that has any shred of athleticism, I think the WWE is going to do what they can to do business with them, because they're more concerned about their worldwide brand continuing to expand. They're more concerned about the bottom line, the profit, the global expansion than they are like actual in-ring product, which is their prerogative. That's fine for them to do. So it's not surprising. And I think I think Logan makes more sense than probably anyone else they could have signed in that kind of position right now. So yeah, I saw this coming from a mile away. Like, I figured this was going to inevitably happen for Logan with the WWE. And yeah, I think it's a smart signing for Logan, because he's going to make a lot of money, and the WWE is going to bring in. See, here's the other thing that we have to keep in mind too. A lot of Logan's fans started as children, but he's been in the game for so long that now they're teenagers and they're hitting that 18 to 49 demo. WWE's most important demographic is the little kids. Like, they need to just keep getting influxes of little kids watching the show, because that'll never end. These 6 to 13-year-olds, like, there'll always be new WWE fans coming in, and they're just hoping some of them stick around throughout their teenage years and into adulthood. Where they're getting destroyed by the UFC and by AEW is the 18 to 49. And Logan, I think, brings in 18 to 49 for them. And other influencers around his age will also do the same. And I think that's part of this play as well for the WWE. So yeah, I think it totally makes sense all the way around that Logan signed with the WWE.
This is what they're going to continue to do. You mentioned that if they had their choice between Omega and Logan Paul, they're going to take Logan Paul. That's their new path. They are going to take wrestlers, celebrities from other walks of life. This is the whole point of the NIL program. The twins who have like 1 million TikTok followers and things like that. It's like, okay, how can we capitalize on people who are already popular, but maybe don't have a path forward elsewhere, who enjoy the entertainment aspect, who want to get a little bit physical, and they can come here and they can still do all that. And they have a new path of life. They have a new career path for them. That's their business model now. You can love it or you can hate it, but that is their business model now. And I think for people like us who enjoy the more pro wrestling aspect of pro wrestling, like, we're not the biggest fans of it, but we both recognize this is what they're doing. This is what they're going to continue to do. This is what WWE is right now. I mean, I know you booed the Vince McMahon clip that I just played as part of. You're gonna have to hear that every single week, by the way. But like, this is their philosophy. It's like, you want to be a pro wrestler or superstar? Like, superstar sounds better. Because superstar encompasses being an entertainer, not just pro wrestling, not just the in-ring of wrestling. It encompasses, going on and do acting, going on and doing other things in media, being on the Tonight Show, things like that. That's what a superstar is to these people. And that's the people that they're going after. So no, it's not a shock that Logan Paul is coming in. They probably tried to sign Bad Bunny for more. I mean, they got him back for this year at the Rumble after WrestleMania last year. They'll probably try to get him as often as possible. If you are popular in another medium, those are the guys that WWE actually wants over, hey, you've had cool matches on the independent scene. Like, they don't really care about having those guys. Maybe they'll sign a few every now and again, like Roxanne Perez was one of them, and she's young enough to where like people know her ROH career, like people like us, but they can basically brand her, build her as a WWE superstar. That's the way they're going with this stuff. So Logan Paul makes all the sense of the world for them, and he's probably going to be a big hit for them. He'll bring in a lot of people. His podcast gets a ton of views. He has a fan base, whether you like the fan base or not, whether you agree with his methods or not, he has the fan base. They will tune in to see him. Whether or not that's sustainable, whether or not those people come back, I don't know. I do not know. But for the first couple of times as he's there, they'll get eyes on them. I don't know if it's going to translate to ratings as far as like, oh, Raw went up this much because of Logan Paul. It's going to translate to the other metrics that, we don't always focus on, and that's social engagement, YouTube engagement, things like that WWE is obviously looking at and focusing on. But for a lot of us, we're just like, oh, their television ratings didn't go anywhere. But it's like, okay, well, their television ratings might not have gone up, but look at how many views this got on YouTube. Look how much engagement this got on social media. Look how much this got on digital media. Look how much people talk about this. Like, this story was covered everywhere. Variety, New York Times, like all the big outlets were covering this story. That's what WWE cares about. At the end of the day, that's what they
100%. I completely agree. Your spotlight this week, Jeremy, for WWE was Liv Morgan winning Money in the Bank and also winning the title from Ronda Rousey. I want your thoughts on all of this. I just want to say right off the bat, two things real quick, and then you can elaborate. One, that ladder match was ass. Like, that was a bad match. Two, I hated the way that Ronda Rousey responded to losing that title.
I agree.
Her congratulating Liv was so ass backwards for what Ronda Rousey is. When she loses matches in real life, when she loses UFC fights, she disappears for years, won't do media. Like,
that's what should have happened here. That would have been great. That would have been great if she did that here.
Well, especially because Liv won it in such a cheap way. I get it. It's within the rules of what the Money in the Bank is, but she beat a hurt Ronda after Ronda had a match, and then Ronda congratulated her. I was like, this is dumb. Like, good for Liv for winning the match and for winning the title, and the fans got their moment, and Michael Cole and Pat McAfee were going nuts on commentary, and it was a great moment for Liv. But I thought the ladder match was terrible, and I thought that the way that Ronda handled it was just stupid how they did that. So that's honestly all my thoughts on the whole thing. So Jeremy, take it away.
I don't disagree with any of that, especially Ronda congratulating her and stuff. I didn't need that at all. They're trying so hard with this Ronda babyface stuff. It ain't working. I got no time for it. Ronda should have beat the shit out of her afterwards and just been pissed off. Go full blown heel of oh, Liv Morgan, you've been trying to get this moment forever, and this is how you win it. You got to cash in when I'm injured. Fuck that noise. When we face one-on-one, I'm gonna rip your arm off type of shit. That's the Ronda Rousey we need. This smiling babyface Ronda Rousey, it's awful. It's not good stuff. I didn't like that. Good for Liv. Liv has been waiting a long time for this. Her journey, it's been documented in WWE 24, all the interviews she done and everything. I'm all for that. I'm happy Liv Morgan got her moment. This is what WWE does, though. They create the moment, and then we got to see the follow-up. Raw wasn't bad. You know, she teamed with Bianca. They had a cool little tag team match. Like, that was fine. I'm very interested to see what they do on SmackDown and like Rousey's promo afterwards. If she's gonna be still babyface Ronda Rousey of, hey, you know, Liv, like, you got me on that one. How about we do it fair and square at SummerSlam and type of thing? Like, I don't have time for that. I don't need that. And then if Ronda's just going to beat her at SummerSlam, cool. Liv got her moment, and it meant nothing in the end, because when they actually faced in a one-on-one match where things were fair, Ronda beat her.
And that'll happen again, by the way. There is a 0% chance of Liv Morgan beating Ronda Rousey one-on-one in the WWE. It's not going to happen. 0%. I will promise you, if they do Liv Morgan versus Ronda Rousey, Liv Morgan's tapping out.
I would have much preferred. You know what would have been a good story is Rousey attacks Liv after she loses, does the whole thing of like, you cheated, like, this is how you're going to win the title, blah, 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 blah. Goes full heel, loses to Liv at SummerSlam, and does the thing you talked about of like, just go away for a while, like sulk, do that whole story and everything, but then come back at the Rumble, kick off the Becky and Ronda feud going into WrestleMania, because I still think that's where they're going. And then Becky can talk all that shit she talked before of like, you just left, you cried, you took your ball and you went home, you were acting like a little bitch, and like, now you're gonna come back and try to do this when we've been working our ass off this entire time. No, like, we're not doing that this time, Ronda. This ain't your world. Like, you don't just cry, leave, come back, and then get your spot back. Like, it doesn't work like that. I would have much preferred that. But yeah, they're probably just gonna do babyface Ronda Rousey rematch at SummerSlam. Ronda wins. Fun, fantastic, whatever.
Yeah, I mean, the only way that Ronda wouldn't win the title back from Liv, in my opinion, and this is still a long shot, but there are rumblings about Ronda fighting Gina Carano potentially.
I don't think that's happening.
Which I don't think so either. Gina doesn't look like she's really ready to fight at the moment, and they're both way past their primes. But at the same time, also in the UFC, Juliana Pena being the bantamweight champion, if she retains again over Nunes, I could see them doing Ronda versus Pena though. Like, I really could. So I think Ronda still has like her toe kind of in the MMA pool just a little bit.
She seemed checked out I listened to her talk to Daniel Cormier, and she was like, yeah, by the end, like, I just didn't care about it anymore. Now that she has a kid as well, like, her life is just completely different. I don't know if she has that desire to get in there and do like a full-blown training camp and prepare for a fight and everything. Look, I don't blame her. She's a pioneer. Women's MMA would not be where it's at without her. I have no issues saying that. I think you're wrong.
I agree 100%.
If you think otherwise. But I don't think she has the passion and desire to do that anymore. And if she doesn't, she shouldn't do it, because that's how you end up a meme like she's done in her last 2 fights.
Oh no, I completely agree with everything you're saying 100%. I'm just saying, like, if Ronda, the only reason that Ronda wouldn't win this title back, I think, is if she is going to do something like that. Like, if she's not going to be around. And also, just really quickly, I just wanted to say it was pretty funny seeing Triple H, Nick Khan, Stephanie McMahon, and Pat McAfee all together at the UFC at UFC 276 right after Money in the Bank. They all like went straight from that show straight to the UFC, and then unfortunately had to witness like a pretty boring main event. Like, Vince is probably sitting there like, oh man, like this is way lamer than what we got going on. Like, it's like, damn, yeah. I mean, this the Adesanya versus Cannonier kind of was.
Great tribute to The Undertaker by Adesanya by doing a long ass entrance and then having an overly long, boring ass main event.
Yeah, well, right. Very, very on brand for The Undertaker. And it was funny because like Joe Rogan has no interest in professional wrestling. So the whole time he's just asking Daniel Cormier what's going on. And Cormier is like, just like hard as a rock, like the entire time. Like, this is the best thing I've seen in my life. You know what I mean? So yeah. But yeah, I mean, good for Liv getting her moment. I'm happy for it. Felt like that was just never going to happen with all the times that she's kind of been snubbed. I'm glad she got her moment and she won the championship. I just think the way that it was done was just, once again, I thought the ladder match was terrible, and I didn't I did not like the way that Ronda responded to losing that title. So, but I'm happy for Liv on the flip side. So
move on to the other spotlight, Jensen.
Our product is what it is. We're going straight up the middle.
Going straight up the middle, Stephen
Okay.
Jensen. Mine is from Impact this week. Chris Sabin against Frankie Kazarian. If you haven't watched this match, it happened on last week's Impact. Go back and watch it. I don't want to say it was quite better than Speedball and Trey Miguel from Against All Odds. I thought it was better than everything else from Against All Odds. Speedball and Trey was, it's Speedball. That's the wrestler of the year right there. On a different level, it was better than Speedball and Trey because while that one had like just packed in everything, this was a little bit more methodical. But the fact that these two men who first wrestled each other in 2003, like almost a decade ago, and then 2 decades ago, geez, I'm very old. The fact that they wrestled almost 2 decades ago, and here they are nearly 20 years later doing this in an Impact main event and still tearing the house down. Like, just shout out to Chris Sabin and Frankie Kazarian working just a brilliant match. I love the closing stretch where they went all Fry Takayama on each other, and then Sabin hits the kick, gets hit with the German suplex, hits the clothesline from Hale, Michigan after it was ducked initially. And then the future shock or the cradle shock. The first one, like that Kazarian kicked out of, like I bit totally on that finish, and then it got him with the second one. That was a great kick out by Kazarian at the end. Go out of your way to watch this match and just watch how two men who are decades into their career can still tell a story and still tear the house down at this stage in their career. I love this match.
Good shout with the Takayama Fry stuff. That's just things of legend. If people have not seen that, go check that out from Pride FC back in the day. It's one of the best like minutes of like fighting you'll ever watch. Yes. But yeah, it's cool. I mean, I think Kazarian's like a much better fit in Impact still than he is in AEW.
He's not doing
anything
in AEW.
Right. One, he gets, I mean, I feel bad for him, to be honest. Like, he gets no reaction in AEW. Like, the Elite Hunter stuff was just so weak. Like, he would come out to, like, try to fight off the Elite, and everyone just sitting on their hands. Like, no one, even when he came out for, like, the Battle Royal the other week, just no one responds. And it's just
the Elite Hunter stuff, like, went nowhere, and then he lost to Gallows. And, like, look, once you're losing to Gallows, you're kind of dead in the water on that. So, yeah, it went nowhere. I don't, like, mind the story. It made sense because the Elite essentially broke up him and Daniels, but then it was just like a thrown together half-assed idea that they didn't have any follow-up or any follow-through on.
Yeah, one, and but anyway, this match was great, and these two guys, I mean, you said it before, but like two TNA originals from back in the day that are still performing at a really high level. I mean, Chris Sabin's really in that top tier of like always consistently being like main event level guy in Impact. And I also saw that Sabin and Shelley are taking indie bookings as the Machine Guns right now too, which is pretty exciting because they're going to be doing some pretty awesome stuff, I'd imagine. I know that Balance is Forever, Ku and Guarini have already called them out on Twitter. Like, they want that match, and I've got to see it. And that ties in with our indie spotlight as well a little bit. But yeah, shout out to Kazarian and Sabin. Great match. Sabin with the win. Sabin with the win. And I mean, Kazarian's looking, like I said, Kazarian is lost in the mix in AEW, but does really well in Impact. So, I think he should just keep doing more in Impact if they have that working relationship. And good for Sabin doing what he's doing. Yeah, good stuff.
Your other spotlight this week, Stephen Jensen, is wrestling adjacent. On July 4th, every year, the Nathan's Hot Dog Eating Contest takes place. And once again, they fail to build new stars as Joey Chestnut dominates the competition. It dominated so much that he was able to take a break to choke out Darth Vader and still win this thing. Joey Chestnut reigns once again. What can you say about this? This is the most epic run we've ever seen. This man is a dynasty unto himself, but I'm getting a little bit tired that they can't build any new stars.
So back, I think it was 2015 is when Matt Stoney won it.
Yes. Yep.
So there was the 1 year where Matt Stoney won. He doesn't even compete anymore. Like he still he still eats on YouTube. Like
He
does
stopped
challenges.
the last time he appeared in the hot dog eating contest was 2019.
Right. Yeah. And so here's the thing, right? All right. Joey Chestnut, I am unironically saying that Joey Chestnut's an American hero. This guy, this is the 15th year that he has won the Nathan's hot dog eating contest and kept the mustard belt in the United States. And Stoney, being American, he kept it in for the 1 year he was the champion too. For people who remember back when like Kobayashi was doing his thing, it seemed like that guy was unbeatable. Chestnut came around and never looked back. I always forget the guy's name, the guy who runs Major League Eating, who does the introductions and stuff. He's the best ring announcer in sports. This guy, like it's him, MOJ, and Bruce Buffer. Like those are like the three for me of like of hype men. Paul Heyman's up there a lot too for me. But dude, the fact that this man was wearing a boot up there, like he was injured going into this contest. Granted, he doesn't need his foot to eat, but like the training it takes, people don't realize like you have to be in like incredible shape to eat at the level that he eats at, because he is doing nothing but chewing and sweating and stuffing his face for 10 minutes straight. He looks like he just went through an MMA fight by the time he's done. I mean, he's just covered in sweat. And it just to see him, he went into it injured, so he couldn't train like he normally could. Still ate 63 hot dogs, I believe was his number. His record is 76. But he still won by like 20 hot dogs over second place, and also took the time to choke out an intruder. Like this guy, I mean, this is as pro wrestling as it gets. There is a mustard belt on the line. It is representing your country against the world. It is putting someone in a chokehold mid-competition. It's still beating second place by 20 hot dogs. And I'll always say this about Joey Chestnut. Back in 2020, when COVID started getting real bad and all the sports shut down and the WWE was still trying to figure out the best route of how to do their shows, and UFC was moving everything to the apex, the world needed something. We had no sports. We were all stuck at home. We're all terrified of this whole COVID thing. Joey Chestnut goes out there. At that point in his life, his record was 74. He made sure to slug down 75 that day to give America a W and give us something to cheer for when we were all stuck at home, fearing what the future was. The next year, same situations. COVID's still happening. Things are getting a little more normal, but it's still COVID, and people are still at home, and people are still miserable because we needed something to cheer for. That man put down 76 hot dogs. Like he beat himself by one hot dog. He beat everyone else by like 25. Like second place was like 25 behind him. Like I have to give this man credit. Is eating hot dogs kind of silly as a profession? Yes, absolutely. Like it sounds preposterous. But at the end of the day, you have to respect what this man is doing. He is dominant in his field. And there is no one even close right now to sniffing beating him for this title anytime soon. Also, one quick other shout out to Megabyte Ronnie, who is a professional wrestler who we have seen on AEW, who was in this competition himself. So anyways, I'm a fan of Joey Chestnut. I always call him American hero Joey Chestnut. People think I'm kidding. I kind of say it kind of tongue in cheek because I know it sounds funny, but this dude legitimately is like, I mean, it's war veterans and then Chestnut as far as like America for me. Like it's like the war veterans are up at the top. Chestnut's right there, right below him, right below them. So I think people just need to give this man his respect. People really care about him for about 10 minutes a year. And when he has that 10 minutes to shine, he shows out and he's dominant. So shout out to American hero Joey Chestnut for once again winning the Nathan's Famous Hot Dog Eating Contest on the 4th of July in Coney Island.
Can we get Megabyte Ronnie on this show? I feel like
we probably could. We follow each other on Twitter. I could probably get him on probably pretty easy. I almost messaged him to try to get him on for today. But I was like, because we do our interviews on Tuesday nights usually, and I was like, it's kind of screwed up to like hit this guy up the day after he just ate as many hot dogs as he possibly could. Like it might not be the best time to interview him, but I'll reach out to him and see if he wants to come on the show to discuss this soon. Like I'm totally down.
All right, we'll try to get him on there. They look, the hot dog eating contest is total pro wrestling. They missed the big angle with Kobayashi and Chestnut because now Kobayashi's like pretty much done. But when
Kobayashi got shunned because
that's what I'm saying,
like, showing up rogue.
Yeah, he showed up. He was doing it like on the rooftop across the street and everything. Like the fact that they could not get them for one more showdown after he was barred from the competitions and stuff, big missed opportunity there. It is total pro wrestling. They do need to find some challengers for Joey Chestnut. I'm tired of watching this man just dominate everybody. Where's Eater X? My man Eater X. He was there.
He was there, but he wasn't in the competition. He was like up in like the VIP area of like the hot dog stuff, but he had his face paint on. I saw him there, but yeah.
Let's move on to our indie spotlight, guys. If you haven't watched the hot dog eating competition, it's total pro wrestling. I watch it every year. It's so much fun.
So good.
It's so.
Well, it's funny because like I texted you and I was like, hey man, I'm definitely going to talk about the hot dog eating contest on the spotlight. And you sent me a picture of you watching it. And I was like, this is perfect. Like,
it's like, you better be watching like the hot dog eating contest. Like, you know me, Jensen. Like I'm watching this. I'm watching every single year. The kids came in and like, they're eating a bunch of hot dogs. Like the kids were totally sold on this too. It was great. Yes. Indie spotlight, Stephen Jensen.
I'm going to give a big motherfucking shout out.
Give it shout out.
Yeah.
Give it shout outs.
Yeah.
We will start with your indie spotlight. Actually, let's start with mine because I think you have a good rant or good topic on the death match. Mine
got about
is
like 6-7 minutes. So yeah.
Yes.
Perfect.
Mine is the IWTV introducing tag team titles now to go along with everything they're doing on Uncharted territory, which has been great weekly television and people have not been watching it. AC Max still the champion, having great matches on Uncharted territory. Now they have the tag team titles. Feels like it's designed for Violence is Forever to just murder some people for this thing. What do you think of the tag team titles since you are the king of the indies here on the show?
I agree with everything you just said. I think Uncharted Territory has been a great show. I review it every Sunday on the Fightful Select Weekender podcast. We review every episode of Uncharted Territory there, so check that out if you haven't already. I go in I deep dive that stuff. I think that Balance is Forever is like pretty clearly the team that should win it. They've won. They do IWTV awards every year, and I think for the last 3 years, VIF has won Tag Team of the Year, and it would just make sense. Now, if they're going to have access potentially to teams like Motor City Machine Guns and that kind of stuff, I could see it maybe something like that. I mean, we've seen Alex Shelley as the IWTV champion fairly recently and stuff, and but I think Ku and Guarini just makes the most sense to hold those titles. They already have the action titles, the subtitles. They might still have the BLP titles. I mean, they have like 5 sets of tag titles right now. And then Ku also has the action world title or heavyweight title, I should say. Guarini's been a former sub Bone Storm champion. And so, I mean, they're draped in gold already, and it would make the most sense for them to be the IWTV champions. So my prediction is that Balance is Forever wins those titles.
And then your indie spotlight this week is pretty much the state of deathmatch wrestling, because we saw some big injuries. Hoodfoot got cut by Light Tubes. Cole, and who knows how long he's going to be out for. And Cole Radrick also got cut. Cole, former guest on the show. But deathmatch wrestling, Stephen Jensen.
Yeah, and Cole's already back. I mean, he came back very quickly. But
it's insane, man.
Yeah, and Hoodfoot, I'm not sure how long he'll be out for.
That
I just want to
gnarly.
throw it. It did, and I just want to throw this out there on the show today. I'm very, I said this on the Weekender as well, but I'm very like, I don't know if liberal is the right word, but like I'm really big on adults doing what adults want to do. And I'm really big on like other adults not telling adults how to live their life. So I'm one of these people that like, I'm not against deathmatch wrestling. As a matter of fact, I'm a fan of it at this point. I used to not like it because I'm not big on blood. But it's one of those things where it really earned my respect over the years. And I really have a lot of respect for the people that do those matches and the fan bases that they've gained and stuff. And so I want to preface everything I'm going to say by saying, like, I don't think they need to stop deathmatch wrestling or anything like that. I mean, even on the same show that Hoodfoot got hurt, there was like 3 more death matches on that same show and everything went fine. It's like, But my point is, I care about guys like Cole Radrick, that like we've formed a little bit of a relationship with. I care about guys like Hoodfoot, who I don't really know on a personal level, but I've interacted with on Twitter, and we have a lot of mutual friends, and he's a guy that I care about, whether he knows or cares. Like, I care about these guys, and I'm just afraid. I just don't want it to go too far. Like, years ago, Nick Gage literally died during a death match and had to be revived. I mean, my point, I guess, in bringing this up is, as a fan, it's so this isn't an apples to apples type comparison, but just people understand where I'm going with this. If I were to go back right now and watch like any of Chris Benoit's matches, I'm just going to feel incredibly guilty, because I'm like, dude, I feel like I contributed to like watching this man destroy his brain. Like, I don't condone Chris Benoit, by the way. Like, I'm not a fan of his at this point.
We're not getting into that discussion.
No. But my point is this: like, I don't want to support something that could like really, really, really be bad. Like, I don't want to be watching a match with Hoodfoot and he gets cut open and like I watch this man die because he bleeds out. Like, I don't want to be supporting something that like I know is like maybe really screwing somebody up. And the Benoit comparison isn't the best, but my point with it is, like, when you're watching something in hindsight, you start to feel like really guilty, and it just makes you feel really, really dirty, because you're like, did I contribute to this at all by supporting this? And I just don't want to watch death matches for guys like Hoodfoot and guys like Cole Radrick and all these other people who do this. And in the back of my mind being like, I really hope they don't go too far. I just don't. It hits harder when, like, in back-to-back days this happens, and it's very similar circumstances, and they're all in deathmatch wrestling. They're constantly trying to one up everything. So, like, more weapons, more blood, more this and that, more danger. And on one hand, it makes it really entertaining, because sometimes you get these death matches that seem completely unreal, and you're like, these people are superhuman for doing this. Like, and it's really impressive. But then you see something happen to like what happened with Hoodfoot, and it's like, damn, dude, like, that could have been really, really, really bad. Like, I mean, it was bad. He wound up in the hospital. I heard he had to get like stitches and staples and stuff. And it's like, I support deathmatch wrestling. I support the people who do it. I support the companies who promote it. I support the fan base who loves it. I'm part of that fan base. I just feel like we needed to bring some attention to it today, and just, everyone just needs to kind of know. And even the wrestlers themselves, like, I already respect what you're doing. What you're doing is already superhuman. Not the superhuman kid that used to like jump off his house or whatever, but super. Yeah, we're not talking about that guy. But like, you know what I mean? It's just one of those things where like I'm a fan of it, and I don't want to like stop being a fan because I'm too afraid of like them going too far. I don't want it to become a regular thing where I see somebody like bleeding out in the ring and having to be like rushed to the hospital, and then having to get updates from other wrestlers like, yo, is Hoodfoot okay? Is Cole okay? Like I'm legitimately concerned that they might have taken it too far. And that's really my whole thing, is like, I want them to keep doing what they're doing. I'm a fan of what they do. I just want them to make sure they're being a little bit safer in what they're doing, just because I don't want to support something that's going to get somebody like really, really messed up.
I'm totally with you. We've had people who like Cole Radrick on the show, and they talk about they're doing a death match. I was like, you've got to be a certain type of crazy to do a death match. And look, shout out to those guys for actually getting in there and doing it. There is a safe way to do it. There's a certain way to do it where people can be protected. It is not always my cup of tea. I do enjoy some of it, but these injuries, they're going to happen, and maybe they got to just cut back on like some light tube stuff, because it seems like light tubes are a big thing. And I know, again, they're trying to do it safely, but that's glass. Like, that's glass that's going to cut you, and you cut a main vein, an artery, something like that, it's done.
And that's what happened to Gage. It was a light tube.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, maybe you just got to cut out some of these light tube spots and stuff and make it just somehow a little bit safer. But it's a big appeal. The light tubes being part of the death match, and unfortunately, these things are probably going to continue to happen until they can make it somehow even safer. And I don't know how they do that beyond what they've already tried to do. I just hope nothing bad like happens beyond just, okay, guys get sort of cut, because you can heal a cut. If you do hit a major artery or something, that could be that.
Yeah, exactly. So I'll wrap up by saying this is nothing against Hoodfoot. It's nothing against Cole. It's actually the complete opposite. It's because I care about these guys and I'm a fan, and I just want them to be healthy, safe, have long, prosperous careers. Just it would just be a tragedy if something bad happened because they felt like they needed to go just that one step farther. Now, granted, what they got hurt doing was pretty basic as far as deathmatch wrestling. Like, we see people get hit with light tubes all the time, and most of the time nothing bad happens. But man, if something did, it's just I would just feel so guilty being a part of that as a fan. So yeah, shout out Hoodfoot, shout out Cole Radrick, fan of you guys. Keep doing your thing. Stay safe out there. Have kick-ass careers, and I'm going to support y'all either way. It's just I got a little bit worried this weekend seeing it. So
yeah, stay safe just in these death matches, however you can. I know that seems like an oxymoron. Stay safe in a death match, but however you can, just stay safe, and hopefully it doesn't go far enough to where, hey, this happened, and now we're just doing no more death matches ever. Jensen, I know you got to run. We're gonna go to our creators spotlight, but Jensen, go ahead and get all your plugs in right fast.
Fightful Select Weekender podcast every Sunday, FightfulSelect.com, talking indie wrestling and a whole bunch of other stuff. Every Tuesday, RVD Tito for Life, myself and Doug do a show 10 p.m. Eastern every Tuesday night. We had SP3 on this past week if you want to check that out. This week we're having Mose on the show, who's been a part of the Spotlight before as well. John Mosley, Jumpin' Johnny Mosley, Mose, KOBK, whatever you want to call him. He'll be on there this upcoming Tuesday. So check that out. Follow me on Twitter at @FightTalk_. I'll keep all the leaks updated for what I got going on. And I'm going to go clock in for my shoot job.
There you go. Appreciate it, Jensen. As always, guys, in a creator spotlight this week, we have Samira, who has done work. Oh, man, Jensen just left me. And now I'm Day After Dynamite with the split screen here. I'll keep that. Everyone can watch my cameo appearance on Day After Dynamite later on today whenever Will Washington decides to go live. He has free reign to do whatever he wants. So I just let him go live whenever he wants. We have Samira, who has done work for sites like SE Scoops and Wrestling News. She is now doing interviewing and corresponding work for independent promotions. She is fantastic. She rules. Everyone can go follow her on be it Samira on Twitter. Her handle will be up in our spotlight. Very fun interview talking about how she got into wrestling, the work she's currently doing. I asked her if she will fight Denise Salcedo, so everyone can stick around for that answer. I try to create a war. Last week I'm asking people to cut Alex McCarthy. This week, who's going to fight Denise Salcedo? I'm trying to start a wrestling media war where only I survive. Guys, we appreciate it. Again, we're going to throw to our creator spotlight with our pal Samira. Here we go. Welcome back to the Creators Spotlight here on the Spotlight, and joining us this week, wrestling personality, wrestling interviewer, wrestling correspondent, Samira. Samira, how you doing?
I'm doing good. Thank you guys for having me on.
Thanks for joining us. So you were on Day After Dynamite with our pal Will Washington last week, and I do my usual run-in on that show. And we've talked on Twitter a bunch of times, and that was the first time we've actually seen each other virtually and met each other through virtually. I was like, oh well, if you're free this week, come on the show and we will chat with you on the Spotlight. So we appreciate you joining us.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. Yeah, that was such a funny little interaction the first time we went, and you talk about the Stanley Cup, and you're like, oh, did they come to your door, Will? I thought that was so funny.
I just started making run-ins and just talking hockey with Will, and I don't know how uncomfortable that the guests get, because they're like, why is this idiot on our wrestling show talking hockey? But I do my little cameo, so it seems like most people enjoy it. We appreciate you joining us again. And so for those that don't know, what do you have going on in the wrestling media landscape nowadays?
Well, things lately have been a little slow. I've touched upon lately that I had been going through a little bit of imposter syndrome, but I'm pulling through. But right now I'm looking to revive up my YouTube channel. We're getting interviews back again, vlogs. Everybody seems to love those when I post those, and it takes a lot of independent bookings as I work with High Tension Wrestling, Camp Leapfrog, and little places here and there. But I'm sure a lot of stuff will be coming soon, as I will be heading to Nashville for SummerSlam weekend.
There you go. Now, how did you get started in the wrestling media landscape, this crazy world that we're all part of?
So it's actually a funny story. I've grown up watching wrestling since I was a little kid, and so I made it into the Twitterverse when I was a teenager and like stuck with it. And as I was going to college, I didn't know what I wanted to do. And I went to community college, and I ended up coming to the point where I wanted to do communications or teaching. And at that time, I had been posting on my YouTube channel like a bunch of different stuff. And then I got, this website had like, reported something, and I was like, oh, that like doesn't seem right or something. And we were just like talking, and they're like, hey, we're looking for an interviewer like for the channel. Like, do you want to try it out? Like, and I was like, I'm like, well, I'm already thinking of going into communications. Like, let's test this out. Maybe like then this is what I meant to do. Did the interview, and that the rest was history. Like, I just joined on their team as the interviewer at the time, and it just went like that. And I've been doing this since 2018.
So longtime wrestling fan, if you have one favorite wrestler, definitely mention them, but who are some of your favorite wrestlers growing up as a fan before you started like interviewing wrestlers and like getting involved yourself?
Oh, number one, I always say this everywhere, Randy Orton. Like, one of the reasons why I started watching wrestling, and of course, like John Cena, because at that time period, that's when they were like the biggest faces in, the company. So they were like big faces, Triple H, Batista. Like, I love all that kind of era, the 06, 07 area type of people. So they're some of my favorite people.
There's been about 3 million John Cena and Randy Orton matches. Does one in particular stick out to you?
Oh gosh, I really like the one that they did at TLC. Oh my god, what year was that? I feel so old now. When they did it for the WWE Championship and the World Heavyweight Championship, that one was really good.
That was a ladder match, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Because I remember him Orton won that, right? And he grabbed both titles. Yeah, I remember that one.
Yeah, I still think that was like one of the coolest things ever.
That was the joke of just, hey, we're gonna do John Cena and Randy Orton once again. Here we go. Of course, this is what we're going to do. What do you make of Orton's run? I mean, he's injured right now, but him and Cena less so going strong at 20 years, but he did just return. Orton like legitimately is still going strong and doing some of the best work he's done in a while this year. Like, what have you made of Randy Orton in 2021 and 2022 before he got injured?
I think he's, doing amazing. He still has it, and he works well with all the younger guys, and he helps them out. And I like, at first I wasn't like a big fan of him and like Riddle teaming up, but then like it grew on me as it went along. So it's pretty cool to see where he's like come from, like even the beginning of his career to now, because he still has it and he still wants to work and help others out. And I like love to see where they're taking him, and it fits like any role that you put him in, he does really well at.
Yeah, he seems to be having a lot of fun too nowadays. Like, I feel like he feels like the pressure's kind of off him now. Like, he's one of the biggest stars that they have that's like still there. That's like a really recognizable, like worldwide superstar and all that stuff. But like, it feels like recently he's kind of like taken a step back and been like, all right, I'm kind of the veteran now. Like, everyone respects me. I don't really need to prove anything anymore. Now I'm just going to smoke weed with this guy and just kind of like do whatever. Because he was always notorious too he was like one of those guys who would always like pay the fine back when they were getting tested, and he would just like pay the fine. Now he's teaming with a guy who, because I saw them joking about how I think Orton said that Riddle grows his favorite strain, so that's why they teamed together. Like, that's what they were joking about. So I think it's kind of cool to see where Randy Orton's at in his career right now, kind of like taking himself a little less seriously, because like he already knows he's the man, and like everyone else knows he's the man at this point. So like, he just seems to be in kind of a cool place in his career.
Oh, 100%.
Needs to get healthy. Hopefully he's back at some point this year. So you've done a lot of interviews for various outlets. Is there one interview in particular that kind of sticks out to you of like, all right, that one went really well, and that one was like a dream and honor to do?
Oh my gosh. There's been so many, and like I always say each one is like my favorite because each one has something, and it's just like so amazing. I think the one has to be the recent one a couple months ago with Will Ospreay, because I just was not expecting that one to happen at all. I really didn't. And like it was great. You know, we got on and like we did what we had to do, like, and he said what he had to say, you know, and I came in with questions like how New Japan has theirs, like I have to write them in before we do the interview, and like, you know, they pre-approve and he has to pre-approve, and you know, it was nice then getting to talk to him, and then he's like, you know, doing what he does and playing his character and like really just like bringing it out. And I love that. That's like one of my favorite things then with interviewing too, is like seeing that side of the character to them besides their personal self. It's just, oh my God, it's just so amazing to see. But yeah, I think he was definitely like one of the coolest ones I've done so far, because I'm just like, dang, I didn't think this would ever happen.
That's awesome. Remember watching that one where, because he talks about like Danielson and Punk and like wanting to wrestle them. I remember watching and transcribing stuff from that. I am curious, like you said that he has to pre-approve stuff and it gets pre-approved through New Japan. Have you like run into that elsewhere? Because Jensen and I, we mainly do like interviews with like independent wrestlers and whatnot. But when we did interview Carl Fredericks, like there was nothing like that. So is that happened elsewhere where it's like, okay, submit these questions and this is what you have to stick with?
So I think I've only had that with New Japan. So I also did like Fredericks and Kid before, and I've done Barrett Brown, but for them I didn't have to pre-approve question forms. I don't know if it's because maybe Ospreay's one of their bigger stars. I don't think I've ran into anything with AEW before where I had to get pre-approved questions, but yeah, they emailed me, said, hey, like what questions do you want to ask? So the first bunch of questions I sent over, there were a couple that they were like, hey, like we can't have you ask that. And actually one of them was about like Danielson and Omega and stuff. They're like, oh, you can't say that. So, you know, I'm just rolling with the interview. We're talking and he brings it up and I'm like, okay, so maybe he must have been comfortable to talk about it and he said it. And then I have to send them the interview back where they have to then approve of it, which I had to do with Fredericks and Kid as well, where I had to send them the interview. They have to like transcribe it from English to Japanese, make sure everything was right before you can post it.
Interesting. I wonder if that is the reason with Ospreay. I mean, he is pretty high status. Like he might just be a bit more careful about what gets out there. And it also could be on New Japan as well. That's interesting. I know you mentioned you're going to be in Nashville for SummerSlam weekend or week or all this stuff going on. I was considering going, and then Cody got hurt, and I was like, well, it's the whole reason I wanted to go, so I'm just not going, even though I lived in Nashville for like 10 years, and it's like my favorite city, and I'm still considering going maybe for GCW, and if I'm there for GCW, then maybe I'll also go to Flair's last match, because, you know, why not? But what kind of stuff do you have lined up for Nashville that like you're really looking forward to?
Well, I'm really excited to see a bunch of like, you know, my friends in the business. I haven't seen like a lot of them since Dallas or even before Dallas. So I'm really excited to see them mostly and like, you know, hang out with them, film some collabs with some people. You know, I'm going to try and get some interviews down there. Hopefully maybe work a show. We're going to, you know, try and see that out. But I'm just really looking forward to being surrounded by everybody and like just connecting with everybody, meeting new people, because that's like my favorite thing to do as well. Besides like interviewing, it's just traveling and meeting people that love the same thing as I do.
It's such a small world thing too, because like years ago, I met people in person that like I just met through other wrestling fans, and then like years later, we wound up like working together, or like, you know, like it becomes such like a small world kind of close knit community. So that was one of the coolest things about like when kind of the COVID stuff kind of started wrapping up more and people started getting out more, was like me going out to like independent wrestling shows was like, man, I miss this. I miss being around other wrestling fans. So like you're going to have a great time in Nashville. Are you going to go to SummerSlam as well, or just kind of the peripheral stuff?
Yeah, probably go to SummerSlam and a bunch of the other shows, you know, GCW probably. Thinking of Ric Flair's last match because I kind of want to see that. That's like, you know,
why do you guys want to see a man potentially like not keel over in the middle of the ring? Why?
I mean, like, I feel like just because it's going to be so historic because he's had like this long career and then this is like his actual final match.
Maybe.
So I'm just like, that sounds like, interesting. You just like want to be there for it. You'll be like, oh, I got to be there.
I understand that because that's kind of how I feel about it too. Because it's like, and also like being from Nashville, I know they're going to be doing the Municipal Auditorium, which is like a really cool venue. And like the rest of the card looks pretty stacked. Like they put a lot of really good matches up. Like I think Motor City Machine Guns versus the Wolves is on that too. I mean, it's like a really good card. Granted, listen, I don't want to see Ric Flair. Like, I don't want to see him. I don't even want to put this out in the world. Y'all know where I'm going with this. I don't want to see anything bad happen to that guy with like his medical history and his age and stuff. But like, if no one's going to stop him from doing it, it's just one of those things where it's like, all right, well, I guess I'll go. Like, if I'm in town, I'll go watch it because like it would be cool to be there. But I also feel like if he can wrestle this match, he's going to keep wrestling more matches too. So like, I feel like this might just be kind of a facade, I guess, if you will. But that's cool. Have you ever been to Nashville?
This will be my first time going, so I'm really excited. But I also agree with you, like how it is a good card because you're getting like multiple stuff from other companies where you're seeing like MLW, Impact. Like there's so many people coming in for this. So it's like also you're getting basically shows from different promotions as well. So like, why not?
Yeah. Have they announced his opponent yet? Ric Flair?
For Flair? No. Flair's opponent has not been announced.
I'm pretty confident it was going to be Matt Cardona, and he is hurt, and they can't do it. I think that's
really?
Maybe. I think so. Just my guess, but because that would have been.
I think it's going to be
a championship, and it kind of would have made sense.
I think it's going to be some type of multi-man match. I don't think Flair's doing a singles match. I feel like Jarrett's going to be involved because Jarrett was heavily in that press conference, and Jeff Jarrett ties with Conrad and everything. Jarrett's going to angle himself into just another payday because that's what Jeff Jarrett does. Bless that man. Samira, how'd you get involved?
Sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
What I was going to say, well, no, I was just going to start deep diving into their history with Jarrett,
the Horsemen,
and the whole thing. Yeah. So, anyways, that's a little bit before your time, maybe. If you're more like Randy Orton era, you might have just been a little late on the Jeff Jarrett in the Four Horsemen WCW stuff that we're talking about here.
That's what I got like Peacock for, watch all the ones. I love like going back and look at the old stuff because it's cool. It's good to know that stuff as well. And it's like see it all play out. I love that.
Yeah. Well, me and Jeremy are just old guys at this point. We're like we're like the old school. Like, I mean, we're in our early 30s. Or getting to our mid 30s, man. Like, it's getting.
Why are you aging us? We're just old. Just say we're old.
Because we gotta get our stuff out there before all the new school, like, Samira and Bustleman Malcolm and Jay Shell and all these people wind up taking all of our spots. Like, it's inevitable. So let's have some fun while we're here.
We all help each other out. We all know. Oh my gosh, we do not step on anybody's toes. We help each other out around here.
I'm gonna be Triple H to just hold all these young talents back. That's why they're on our show every other month. We've legitimately interviewed all three of y'all now.
Yeah.
So sure. But now I got to start burying you guys because you are young and up and coming.
See, it's like being around Nick Wayne and Starboy Charlie and Billy Starks and Marcus Mathers and just knowing like the future's all right there. Like, we're all toast. Once these kids get up to where we're at, we're all toast. Anyways, no. What was your next question, Jeremy? All that was nonsense that I just.
I was gonna ask how you got linked up with Camp Leapfrog and High Tension. How you started working and doing stuff with them.
So last year, that's when I started getting more into independent shows, like working wise. I really wanted to do that. So I hit up my good friend Sam Laterna, who is a wrestling broadcaster here in like the Northeast, and she travels out. I was like, hey, I'm really wanting to get into independence. Like, could you help me out? Like, I ran through a announcing thing with her. Like, I sent her something, and we were just talking, and she was working with Camp Leapfrog. So she's like, I think it would be a good fit there. Like, I'll let you talk to whoever was in charge at the time. And, we were talking, and then I was talking to Alex and Maestro, who owned High Tension as well as Camp Leapfrog, and we discussed things. And then once I started doing one show, we were doing more. And like, I've so grateful that they continue to bring me in, and that is basically my home promotion now. And I like continue to learn, and they have me do stuff, and I get to meet like so many amazing people that are in this area as well. And it's just been like so much fun, and it's always a great time.
Does Camp Leapfrog still run on IWTV, or did they change platforms? Do you know?
So we did go on a hiatus last year, and from what I've been hearing, we are coming back very soon. I can't tell you when, but I do know that we are returning. And High Tension is actually having a show at the end of the month, which I'm sadly going to be missing to be in Nashville.
Gotcha. I can't believe Frog hasn't run since like around like October or so, something like that.
Yes, we took a hiatus for reasons, and
okay, sure.
yeah,
no, we have to get into all that. It's a great company, and I'm very big on independentwrestling.tv, and I noticed that it's been a minute, but it's good to know that that's going to be coming back, because a lot of good talent, good area for people to be wrestling in and stuff. So it's cool that you're involved with that. Very cool.
It's so much fun. I had like, as soon as like I got there the first time and we started doing like filming and stuff, it's just, everyone's so welcoming, and it's just such a fun, environment to be around. So I'm so glad, they continue to bring me in, and they're very supportive and all nice. Like, I have the best time with them.
Anybody from either one of those companies like stand out to you? As Jensen said, he is Mr. Independent, king of the Indies, Stephen Jensen. Any names that like stand out to you of like, okay, this is a guy that or girl that like kind of keep your eye on here?
Oh, definitely. I say this everywhere. It's Darius Carter. Every time I work with him, like when we were doing like maybe a backstage segment, like how he does his promos and gets into his character, I'm just like, oh my gosh. And then how he wrestles, like his presence, like, oh my God, he's like a great heel. Like I'd love to see him go really, really far, really far. Oh my God, a woman. Oh my God, there's so many. Oh, man, because I think of everybody, because everybody does such a great job there, and I'm just like, they're all good. Shay McCoy is also really good. She's good with Ben Weber, Hatfield, who recently took off his mask. So that was like really interesting, but they're a good tag team.
Weird. Yeah.
Yeah. And then like getting to be there, like, at then the LVAC show where a very good professional wrestler or Avery Good, like, retired. So like, it was sad seeing that too. So it's fun because you make friends here, and like you get to go to these shows, and it's sad then you see them, go.
Yes. For those of you who might not know, a very good Avery Good, the former Dasher Hatfield. So, there was a lot of gimmick changes around, once again, stuff we don't have to get into, but Boomer Hatfield, big fan of him as well. Like to see him take the mask off. And it was funny because when he took his mask off, I remember Twitter being like, this is like a really handsome guy. Like, why was he in the mask to begin with? Like all the girls were like, dude, this guy's really good looking. Like, so I thought that was pretty funny. I like Shane McCoy as well.
Yeah.
The outfielders was that team. They had a lot of really good talent go through there. Maxie Impaler, I know, has gone through there. I like Bobby Orlando and Rob Killjoy a lot. Those guys are like kind of Southeast guys that I know have made their way out there. So yeah, you're surrounded by great talent. Darius Carter, I think, is a really good shout out as well. Someone who doesn't get enough love, probably still flying a little under the radar, but like doing really well. So yeah, awesome.
So what are some of your goals, long term, short term, just goals in wrestling or life?
Well, long term is definitely, I would love to sign a contract with the wrestling promotion one day, like with the TV deal, to be like their on-air correspondent. That is my biggest dream. And, hopefully it comes true one day, just working hard to get there. Short term, I just really want to work more independent shows to like, I want to continue to learn to do better and like keep traveling out, because I've been doing a lot of recently in the past year, doing a lot of shows. So I want to keep doing more and learning, like learn ring announcing. I tried out commentary. Don't feel like it's for me, but it was a great opportunity. But, I just want to continue to learn and like do more podcasts with people talk about wrestling. I feel like I don't do that enough, and I love doing that. So, and like, of course, travel and just be with a bunch of friends, because I love being surrounded by people that love the same thing as I do. We just talk and have a good time and then watch all the wrestling.
Yeah.
Could you beat up Denise Salcedo?
Does Denise know how to wrestle?
I mean,
She
she
knows
knows how
how
to
to-
throw Sean out of the ring.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah,
she
at
knew
GCW.
how to punch Sean Ross Sapp in the dick. She knew how to do that. She's
That
very
is so
short.
funny.
I feel like
Does
you
she-
can just like kick her.
Does she know how? Like, has she trained before?
I don't think so. I don't think so. I could be
Yeah.
mistaken, but I don't think
I know, I don't know for sure, but I mean, it's pretty likely she has. I would say that she's probably had just a little less training than Louis Dangor has, probably.
Oh gosh,
Because
you beat up Louis Dangor?
Huh?
I'm asking Samira if she could beat up Louis Dangor. Just beat these people up.
Jeremy just wants me to beat up everybody.
I
Samira's a
asked
Hitler.
last week for Alex McCarthy to be cut with a sword. So
Yeah,
Oh
you
my
did.
God.
Yeah.
everyone
Jeremy-
thinks I'm friends with all these media people. I'm trying to pit everybody against each other, and then I'm just the last person standing.
Yeah,
Oh
Jerry
my
has
God.
some weird like wrestling media hit list that he's just been like casually trying to like
Yep.
slide his list through like to other people. Yeah,
Denise
that's
Salcedo
that's
is my
funny.
Swifty bestie. I don't want her to get beat up.
Yeah.
I was trying to, break the silence there to see if you could just fight Denise Salcedo.
Oh my
She does all
God.
the ring announcing and commentary and all this stuff. She's in a very prominent position. Just beat her up, take her spot,
No.
cash
Oh
in
my
the Money
God.
in the Bank briefcase on her.
Oh my gosh, no. I actually don't know how to wrestle. Like, I don't know if I would want to be a wrestler though, because like I don't know if I could take the pain, but I always say like I want to get in the ring to learn the basics because I feel that's very important to know in this business. But I am not going to beat up Denise. She's doing a great job. We're not going to beat up Denise.
Wow. We
Yeah.
love Denise Salcedo here. This gets back to where Denise, big Swifty kisses to you.
Have you taken any bumps before, Jeremy, in a wrestling ring?
In a wrestling ring? No, I took one on the floor. I just, I did a psychosis leg drop.
I remember. Yeah, that was epic. Yeah,
No,
that was on
I've
the
not
floor.
gotten in
Did
a
you have
ring.
some pillows down on the ground or something for that at least?
Kayfabe, brother. Kayfabe.
Okay. Right on the ground. Gotcha.
Yeah.
Nice. I've done it before. Like I've never like wrestled, but like I've taken bumps in a ring before, and like it's very, very painful. It's one of those things. It's just like, yep, they're not kidding. For me, it was always the travel. I was like, I would never be able to get into a business like this because I don't like flying in airplanes and stuff. So like, I was like, this is just not going to be for me. But I can cover it. I can do that. That's how I can get involved. Is I can be a guy talking about wrestling, and then I can do something. I'm going to steal a fight. Oh, go ahead, Jeremy. Go.
I think it's cool, and I think it's good that you want to at least get in there and like learn the basics, because I know interviewers aren't like, they're not always getting physical and stuff, and a lot of promotions are like that. But if by chance you just need to take a bump for an angle or a storyline, then you'll be practiced in that, and you at least you understand what these men and women go through when they're in there wrestling around and wear and tear on their body for however many nights a week. So I do think that's good that you're like, yeah, I'd like to at least get in there and try it out and see what might happen. Have you talked to anybody about potentially like, hey, can I just like take a basic class or anything like that?
So I was talking with Barrett Brown. He's one of my good friends in professional wrestling, and we're like, oh, like if we're ever in like the same area and there's a ring, I asked him if he could teach me. That would be really cool because he does like run a school in Texas. So I think that would be cool. Like I said, like I'm down to learn to see what they go through. Like they God bless them, they could do it. I can't take pain and things like that, but I want to know like what it's like for them to go through that. And then like you said, if there's ever a time where I'm going to need to take a bump or something, then I'll know and be prepared for it, because you just never know nowadays.
Yeah, I know a lot of wrestlers credit like Bobby the Brain Heenan. They say like he was a great worker. Like people don't really realize it, like, but like he could really like go in the ring, or at least he could take a lot of really good bumps, and that added to his character so much, because it's not just a guy out there just talking trash over and over that never gets his comeuppance. Like eventually he's going to get knocked over and the crowd's going to go crazy and he's going to get some payback. So I like that a lot. Jeremy, I'm going to steal the question you normally ask this week.
Okay.
What is the coolest thing in the room that you're in right now? We'd like you to show us on camera if you can.
Oh,
We ask everybody.
that's actually a good question.
Yes, this is our closer for everybody to kind of show off their personality and what they're proud of. It could be whatever.
And what's the
be.
flag behind you?
Oh, so maybe it is what's behind me. The flag behind me is the Lebanese flag. I am Lebanese, and that's where I come from. I wasn't born there, but my parents were, and this is where I'm from. It's a big part of who I am, and that's why I always have it. And like on my social media, I have like my name written out in Arabic. I have the flag in my bio because it's very important to me and where I come from, and especially there's not a lot of Arabs in the business. There's very few of us, and like I like to represent where I come from. So maybe this is, the thing that's like most coolest, most valuable-est thing for me right now in this room. It's this.
I like it. Do you have any like wrestling stuff laying around by chance?
Oh my God, yes I do. It's a lot of it is under the bed, but I think one of the coolest things. Oh my God, my earpiece fell out.
You're good.
I recently got this a couple of months ago. I mean, it's not anything to like, a lot of people, but it is to me. Oh, this is the wrong one. So, when you go to shows and you get like, for media, you get like your passes. Yep. So I save all of mine because I think they're like the coolest thing ever. But the one that I really liked the most was the one that I got from NWA. I went in to do just interviews for the channel I was working for at the time. And they just like, they gave me the badge. And I had like the best time because this comes with like a really cool memory. Like I had the best time in Atlanta and everybody was like so nice to me. I know everybody and I talk to them. And then when I always see them, they're like, hey, when are you going to come back for a show and stuff like that? So I don't know. I just like had a good time. So these usually hold a lot of like memories, like cool things that I do. I like to keep all that stuff, like tickets and stuff like that.
I think that's really cool. Yeah.
Yeah. I think that's
great. Yeah.
When I would cover UFC events, I would always save my lanyards and my credential, and then I would hang it up next to like the poster and stuff. That's how I would decorate my little man cave and everything. So you should save that stuff. It is a great memory, and keep saving that stuff. I kind of wish I had always kept saving my credentials and lanyards, but I didn't. So now who knows where they are? Probably my parents' attic somewhere.
I also have. Oh, I'm so sorry.
No, go ahead.
Also is like there's a poster. I think it's down right here, but it was the first poster with my face like ever on it for a wrestling show. So like that meant a lot to me too. Like when I saw it, I wanted to cry. I was like, oh my God, no way! Like because it's crazy to me to see something like that. Like I'm on the poster. What? Like why am I on the poster?
That's awesome. You got to keep stuff like that.
That is awesome.
So exciting.
Yeah, you definitely do. Samira, we appreciate you joining us. Samira will be around everywhere in wrestling for the coming year. She's going to probably beat me up and take all of my jobs. And she's going to beat up Stephen Jensen and take his jobs as well. Let everyone know where they can find you at, Samira.
Well, first of all, thank you guys so much for having me on. This was like so much fun, and I'm happy you guys asked me to be on. Where you can find me is like on my social media, but most importantly, probably Linktree because it's linked with all my stuff, my YouTube, my Twitter, my Instagram, like everywhere you're going to probably find me on things. It is linked. Then in tree is like tr.ee/the it's Samira. You could probably like find it right here. Even with like my Twitter, it's like the link is in the bio.
There you go. Again, thank you for joining us. Follow all of Samira's work. Go to it's Samira on Twitter. Yeah, the link tree is in the bio, so you can get to the link tree from there. And again, thank you again, Samira. We appreciate it. And guys, we'll be right back here on the Spotlight. Appreciate Samira joining us. She is great. Everyone go follow her. Everyone go support her work. Again, it is it's Samira on Twitter. Check out her link tree, all the work she has done. Guys, we'll be back next week with a new episode. I might have a guest host. I'm pretty sure I will have a guest host. Stephen Jensen has jury duty. So, can't get out of that one. Not here in America. So he's gonna be in jury duty. So I'm gonna have a guest host. Not sure who it's gonna be. I'll figure that out. Everyone can head over to Fightful Overbooked. Rob Wilkins and Caden did mid-year awards yesterday. We have a new Day After Dynamite today, later on with Will Washington and a guest. I will do my usual run-in on that for people that enjoy that. I think that's it. I think that's everything. Lambs is back. Everyone saw that. They found Lambs, tried to silence the Lambs. He's back. He's been found. Guys, we appreciate it. Everyone check out to Fightful Select. Check out Fightful Overbooked, Fightful.com. Appreciate all the support. Talk to y'all next week. Bye.